You could read the historians, and they will tell you what happened. They kept the same images, but they changed the names. So the image of Astarte became Mary. The image of Horus, her son, became Jesus. And they said that Peter and Paul were now not Romulus and Remus, but Peter and Paul were the guardians of Rome, and so forth. So it was paganism with a Christian veneer. And it became enforced. I think it was 380 AD. It wasn't Constantine. It was after his death. I mean, he made it the preferred religion. You got all the benefits, but in 380 it was the official religion. And if you were not... Now the Christians, now the so-called Christians are persecuting the non-Christians. That was the beginning of the Roman Catholic Church. That was, you see, the popes took the title, and in fact, for centuries, the popes never said that they were successors of Peter. They said they were the successors of Constantine. They circulated a document known as the Donation of Constantine. Later on, even Catholic historians acknowledged it was a fraud. It was a counterfeit. But the Donation of Constantine said that Constantine, the emperor, had given the Pope his palace, his regalia, all the pomp and ceremony that was in the pagan palace, the popes took. They took his title, Pontifex Maximus. That was the title of the head of the Pontifical College, which was the pagan priesthood. The Pontifical College exists in Rome today. The head of it is the Pope. You go in Rome today, all the busts or statues of the popes says PM or PON period, dot MAX, Pontifex Maximus. This was what the Roman emperors who were worshipped as God were known as. Now the popes took that title. Constantine was the first ecumenist. He called the First Ecumenical Council 325 AD. He decided who would be there. He gave the opening address and so forth. What was he interested in? Was he interested in whether Jesus was God or not? No. He wanted unity in his empire. This is where we're heading. Now, you're going to have a one-world religion to have unity in the one world under the one world government. That's where the ecumenical movement comes in. If you want to study ecumenism, study Constantine. He was the first ecumenist. So he wanted unity, and they all had to agree on something. You didn't agree, you're exiled. Okay, so now we begin to have a totalitarian church that takes over, that dictates to people, that has successors and dogmas, and you have to belong to it to be a Christian. And so if you want to read what Vatican II, what all the councils, whether it's Council of Trent or all down through history of the councils, is outside of the Catholic Church there is no salvation. The Pope is infallible. You must, I could tell you some of the popes, and everybody knows, they were some of the most evil monsters this world has ever seen. The Pope John Paul II, he just opened 4 holy doors in Rome, declared the Jubilee, the year 2000, and he very proudly says, why, it was Boniface VIII who in 1300 AD first declared the Jubilee and opened the holy doors and so forth, and we're following in his tradition. You'd think he would be ashamed to say that. Boniface VIII, he had, for example, a mother and daughter as mistresses, among his many mistresses. The guy was a murderer. He was so wicked. He wiped out the entire city of Palestrina, Rome. He wiped out the entire city of Palestrina. He wiped out the entire city of Palestrina, Italy, because they were his enemies. Not bad enemies. He just didn't get along with them. another rival family. The families in Italy, had control. And he wiped them out. Over 6,000 people. Smashed everything except the cathedral. Strewed salt. Sowed the fields with salt so nothing would grow. I mean, this guy is so horrible that Dante buried him upside down in the deepest crevasse in Hades, in Hades. And this is only one of the popes in this long line of popes that are that John Paul II is the successor. I mean, you'd think they would be ashamed to even acknowledge some of the worst monsters. Everybody's heard of the Borgia Pope and so forth. I mean, some of the worst monsters this world has ever seen were popes. Okay, so they take over. They control the world. I mean, what does it say here in Revelation 17? Verse 18. The woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And in my book, A Woman Rides the Beast, I document it for you from history. I'll give you an example. Here's Pope Alexander III. Alexander III excommunicated Frederick I, Frederick Barbarossa, Frederick the Redbeard, who was the emperor, Roman emperor. The popes had a weapon that made emperors quake. Excommunication. You're excommunicated from this church. You're in hell. There's no hope for you. You're finished. But this emperor, Frederick I, he wasn't going to take this lying down. So he comes with his armies against the Pope. Who do you think wins? The Pope wins. He defeats the emperor, and the emperor, this is history, the emperor comes to meet the Pope in Venice. He puts his face in the dirt, and the Pope puts his heel on the emperor's neck while the cardinals chant, "Thou shalt tread upon the lion and adder." And the next day after Mass, barefoot, the emperor leads the Pope sitting on his horse. I mean, I can go down through history and document. Why do we have Latin America? Because Pope Alexander VI, the popes owned the world. He drew a line down the map of the world. He gave the West to Ferdinand and Isabella of Spain. That's why they speak Spanish over there. He gave the East to Portugal. They got a lot of Africans and so forth, but what do you know? Brazil sticks out beyond that line. That's why they speak Portuguese in Brazil today. Pope Innocent III, he never lost a battle. The historians will tell you he held all Europe in his net. You didn't fight with this guy. Okay, this is a city. There's a woman that rules over the kings of the earth, but she's committed fornication with the kings of the earth. Now, a city doesn't commit fornication. It must be a spiritual entity. This is a city that claims to be the headquarters of the true church, the representative, the bride of Christ. It's been in bed in unholy alliances with kings and drunk with the blood of the saints. My goodness, I mean, the Catholic, this church that now developed, this is a church that's married to the world.